Hi, welcome to Tech Ranch, a place where we learn and earn technical skills in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. Java Coding Exercise Series 1, Display Table using JTable. Today we are going to present you a live demonstration and implementation of reading table from Oracle Database Server using JTable Swing Graphical User Interface API. Before we get into the implementation, let's first see what is actually a JTable. JTable is a class which is used to display data in tabular form. It is composed of rows and columns. As you can see here, this is a representation of JTable which contains some columns and rows which the data displaying the data from the database server, and you can add some more buttons and some more features in your application with the help of JTable graphical user interface. JTable is a part of a Swing graphical user interface, but it's a vast topic to learn, so we are just going to present you about JTable here and coming up with this application. And Swing graphical user interface will be in a different course, different sessions we are going to cover in a different playlist soon. This particular application divided into three components: database server, JDBC API, and JTable graphical user interface presentation. First component, database server, we are going to prepare a complete database, Oracle Express Edition database server. In that database server, we are going to have a sample table. That sample table has some sample data values, which we are going to present in a JTable. Now, next component, JDBC API, is going to connect from the database server from Java, prepare a statement, getting the result sets and getting the values from the database and put it in a variables. Now these variables has those values which is going to display it in JTable. JTable is going to have an object of this class, and that table will have the columns and the rows are going to be stored it in a variables from the result set, and those values are going to display it in the JTable sample. Now let's take a look at the demonstration. So as you can see, this is the Oracle Express database server. We have used SQL Developer IDE, and in that IDE there is a table master underscore school, and in that school they have the column student ID, student first name, grade and date of birth. Now we have few data, sample data values, and these values are presenting in the Java Swing graphical user interface. Now let's go down and see the implementation. This is my SQL developer, and inside the SQL developer I can create a connection, and here I can give the connection name, username, password and connection, and just test it and it will be done. If you give that values, that will be done. Now I already created a connection, and inside that connection we have a table, and this is the table. We can pick up any table, and this is my table master underscore school. As you can see, if you want to try something else like detail school, you can take this one also, teach ID, attendance, something like this. Student ID STD001, teacher ID TCH001, and attendance. Attendance is your number type, so you need to give the number of days they attended, 23. And just refresh it. You can save, and this is the value they have added. Similarly, TD002, TCH001 or 2 or 1 and 21, and refresh it and save. Add more, STD003, TCH002 and 20. Add more. You can even add more. 001, 34, STD004, I mean the 4, TCH002, 32. So this is my data sets in your table. Now we are going to consider this table this time. and displaying these values. So this is my first step, Oracle database server. First, so we have done the first step, that is Oracle database server with sample table and sample data. Now let's do the second step, JDBC API. For that, we need to come back to the, we need to have our Eclipse IDE, and let's create our Java project. And I'll name it JTable read demo. And this application, we need to add package. This is my package. Inside this package, we need to have a class, and the class name is JTable read demo, and I need a main method, JDBC API. So for that, what we need to do, we need to have the constructor of this class, and that will instantiate your connection. So let's make our constructor. Okay, so constructor is not a class. So we are going to create our constructor, and inside the constructor we are going to override and call the implement the JDBC. And since it's Oracle, so we need to have the Oracle driver class. So for JDBC, you can refer to our JDBC API course. There you can see how we can connect the database server using JDBC API in Java. And we need to have the username string. So for my database server, this is my username and password. So which one you have given, that's what we need to give over there. This is showing error because we need to include some declarations, or you can include it in the try and catch, that's more appropriate. But for now, I'm just doing it for a simple string database equals, we need to have the path, URL path of your database server, and the type of your JDBC driver, that is 10, and the IP address of your server, then port number, and your database name. So this will complete your JDBC connection. Next, we need to create the connection. So we have the connection class, and I'll just make an object of it and include the get connection. We need to give the database, that's what our URL and username and your password, and this will create your connection. Now once the connection is done, it's creating an error because we need to throw or import the Java SQL package. And yes, we need to include everything. I'm just using throws right now instead of try and catch. It's supposed to go inside the try block. And next, we need to create the query. That's what we are going to create here. So here I have the table name is details, right? Details of schools. So this is what the table name, we wanted to display it in the table, JTable. So once this query is done, statement, next is statement, and create an object of it, connection, and we create the statement. We need to import the package. Now once the statement is created, next step is creating the result set. So result set will have the variables. Those variables we retrieve from the query. So we need to execute the query. For more details about execute queries and SQL, please take a look at the SQL tutorial. And once this is done, next step is we need to have the metadata result set of metadata set. The reason we are going to read the individual cell of a table and store it in the variable, and we need to keep reading it until the entire table is displayed. So we need to give a pointer to the table that we need to keep reading it. It is not identifying the column base, it's reading individual cells. So we need to have the metadata values. Now to read it and have it in a loop where it will check for your columns, which column is so individual columns, and it will read it and display it in the table, and that will be included in the elements, and that elements is nothing but your now once this is done, we have created the connection, we have the statements, and we got the result set values. Now these values has to store it in some place, some other kind of data structure we need to include it here, and that's what we call it your we are going to use the collection framework API to store these values and display it in the structure form is called vector. Vector will help you to include the data values in a structure form. So vector, and we create the vector and named individual cell of a table as a data, new vector. You can do these types of things many ways. This is one of the way. You can use the util package. Now column names is defined. Now let's take a look what method we can add here is called add elements. So add element will actually get the values and store it in the column name. So get column name, and the column name will be your I. So this way we can read the entire table, and we are going to close the loop and use another loop to read until the result set is next. This will create the row. So we have done organize the entire columns. Next we need to create a vector for rows for individual columns, and that row has to present until your columns are not finished reading data. So row dot add, just like columns we need to add the rows. Add elements, and in elements we are going to display, so get object and I. So what is happening, first we create a layout and have the columns from the table. And once the column is created, next step we need to read the row, the individual data cells, and put it in a row. And then we create a row and add the data. Now once this is done, so since it says row, once this is done, we need to close your result set and statement and connection. Now once this is done, the next step is we need to create the JTable. Since we got the data from, we got the connection, the first component is done, the second component is done. Now next is third, that is nothing but the displaying the data values in the JTable. So first we need to create an object of JTable named as JTable, have an arguments of data and column name. Since we have the constructor initialized already, which will have the instance of your class. A public class, we need to have the method column class, which will have the column values. We need to have the loop for reading the columns row wise. So this will get the values, and that loop will go until object O equals get the value at row versus column. So what is happening? We are reading the table and displaying it in the layout. So whatever we have read so far in your table, we are going to display it in table. So if in case O is null, that means there is no table, there is no data in the table. So result set will be 0, and that will return to O get class and exit from there, or return object dot class. So as you can see, there are some errors, or we need to import the packages like this, because it has a return type and it has to return to the object class. Now once this is done, we need to have the scroll pane. That will help you to provide some more features where we can scroll in case if it exceeds the number of data values. You can see that is also implemented in this. So we need to include the scroll pane. Let's see how it goes. And add scroll pane. JPanel, that will have the button where we can add the search feature, or you can add new features, update features in later. So we're just having a small form of example where of the JTable. Border layout is for position of your object. Now close it. It's showing error because we need to include the JPanel. We have created the first component, your database server. Second, your JDBC. Third, we have created the JTable. Next, we are going to implement it in the main method. So next implementation is under the main method. We'll fix the errors later. Let's first finish the implementation. So main method will include your swing utilities, invoke later, new runnable. So what we are doing, we are creating an object of creating a frame, a window. In that window has some functionality, and that functionality is going to have some implementation where we have our run method overridden, and that run method basically performs some implementation where we create the J frame, and that frame is nothing but new object of JFrame class with any title of your application, JTable read demo for detail school, right? That's our table name, just for the reference. So this is our title of our window, and we need to set default close operation. So we need to include the close operation. So what we can do, in case we need to close, we need to have the X mark on your right top corner. So exit on close. Next, JTable app, or the class of this application, JRead demo, and create an object of new content pane. That's our object name of this class, new JTable read demo. It's a constructor. Now once this is done, new content pane, the object of our class, is going to create set opaque. The theme content panes must be opaque, true. And next we'll see one by one everything. Friend set content pane is new content pane. Frame dot pack, this will frame dot set visible, which is true, some boolean argument. So this is my implementation. Let's take a look at the errors. So okay. Sure. So we will not extended the JPanel class, so this is why it was created. So it says class not found exception. That means we need to include the package for Oracle JDBC driver. So what we can do, we just go to the application and add external jar file for Oracle JDBC driver. We need to include the classes1-2 jar, and you can see when we include this, you can find out all the classes, and this is what the main class what we include here. Decompiler, that will provide you to open and read the classes. These are all readable classes, so you can extract the jar file here, but it is only available for reading. Sometimes the spellings, the uppercase and lowercase create a problem. So we have included the classes1to-jar file in your application, and here is my package and this is my code. And if you will try to execute, from keyword not found where expected. I see. So this is my application and it does not have from keyword. Where is the query? I see. You can see here we missed to write the from keyword for the table. Okay, now this is how it will look for you. As you can see, your table. You can add more features. Your Oracle database. So the table, JDBC demo, tick, and this is connected. So this is my table from the database. If you're having a problem to see, you can do like this. Bigger size, layout, color, you can change it here. And screen background is make it white, and screen text can make it something like this. So now you can see the table. This is what our table, and this is the actual table in JTable. This is your SQL Oracle database server, and this is your JTable for the details table. So this is a live implementation of JTable read demo from Oracle to Java using JDBC API and JTable Swing graphical user interface API. This kind of feature can be used in many ways, where we need to get the report from the database and display it in providing the independent application. Homework. So what we can do with these types of API, many things you can implement. For example, you have a window where we need to search for data values or rows or a specific keyword from table using keyword of ID and add filter, and later we can also update data from JTable. Let's take a look, a small demo. This is my master school table and it has these values. You can add some more. STD004, some name, Helen, and grade first, and some random date of birth. STD005, Tom, first, now this is my table, as you can see in the Oracle database server, and this table is master school. So we need to find out the data and make sure we have a keyword of ID. Enter your ID. So suppose a student looking for their grades or details or marks, what the student can do, he can enter his roll number or any identification. Suppose I made it 4 and it looking for search, and it will display the entire table without going to the database. So you see STD4, Helen, grade 1 and 12th December. This is the date of birth. So this type of feature you can add. You can later add something like you can even update it. That is also possible, that you can do it from the JTable and that value will enter it in the database, vice versa. So this type of feature you can add. For more resources or assistance, you please contact techcrunch2019@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more upcoming interesting, informative sessions. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.